Half-Life 2 Episode 2 holds a special place in my heart. I first booted up this game over a cozy Christmas break around 15 years ago. It's hard to beat that feeling of being on Christmas break when you're in school and having near zero responsibilities for a week or so. I played through Half-Life 2 Episode 2 in a single session over the course of a rainy December afternoon, and I was instantly sucked into the game's breakneck journey through the beautiful forests and alien tunnels of the Outlands. Episode 2 begins in the aftermath of a train derailment caused by the explosion of the Citadel at the end of Episode 1. I enjoy how the game starts not with you on solid ground, but balancing on the edge of a seat in an upturned train car. It's a nice juxtaposition with Half-Life and Half-Life 2's train journey openings. Clambering out of the wreckage reveals another side effect of that event, the portal storm. It's always a treat to see a nice particle effect, and I'm particularly fond of this one. I made a video recently about nice places to hang out in Half-Life 2, and if I'd included Episode 2 locations, this area where you can watch the portal storm would definitely qualify. It's important to relax here because in a few minutes you're going to watch Alex get turned into a human kebab by the game's new enemy, the Hunter. With its explosive attacks, high speed, and meaty health bar, the Hunter provides an increased challenge that the regular Combine forces no longer pose to the player. Their sound design is also particularly unnerving, inspiring fear whenever you hear their grotesque metallic calls echoing across the landscape. They evoke the essence of a hunting pack of wolves, which is quite fitting for the cold, forested landscape of the game. Their attacks are a great foil to Freeman's arsenal. Since they are resistant to bullet attacks, defeating them requires use of the gravity gun, your explosive ordnance, and even the car. They're one of the few enemies in the game that's equally deadly in both long range and melee combat. So with Alex on death's door due to Hunter-involved injuries, you join up with a helpful Vortigaunt and head underground. Heading into one of the mines that dot the Outlands, Gordon is beset by antlions. After fighting his way through the mine shafts, he emerges into a cave system, which is part of an antlion hive. Personally, I'm a huge fan of caves and the weird creatures that inhabit them. So it's nice to explore caverns teeming with life, even if most of that life wants to kill you. The game also adds several new antlion varieties, including the charismatic and squishable grubs, and a poison-shooting soldier type. In another video, I planned out a globe-trotting Half-Life 2 themed vacation, and the Episode 2 extension of this trip would need to include a real-life version of these caves. The closest approximations to the caves in the game are probably the glowworm caves in New Zealand. These caves do have the same blue glow as the ones in the game, although in the real world it does need to be pitch black for the blue lights of the glowworms to be seen. The caves in New Zealand also have large bugs, such as the cave weta, although its size certainly pales in comparison to the bugs in Half-Life. Personally, I also love all the pools of water in the game's caves, but I wish they had some weird zen cave fish living in them, maybe glowing leeches or something. Though they had better be the Half-Life 1 version of leeches that aren't just instant death. I appreciate when Half-Life becomes a tower defense game and you're given turrets to place while waves of enemies descend. This section, defending the underground Vortigaunt camp while they heal Alex, is my favorite of these tower defense bits in the series. The combat here builds and peaks in just the right way, and honestly it's just so satisfying to blast through the swarms of antlions. I wish there was an endless mode of this where just the waves get harder and harder. After the Vortigaunts successfully heal Alex, it's time to get back on the road. With this, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the forested landscape of the Outlands. Like almost all of the natural areas of the Half-Life series, it's heavily inspired by the landscape of the Pacific Northwest. The levels are filled with staggering conifers, rocky stream beds, fields of ferns, and winding roads, which perfectly evoke the landscape of that region. It's surprising how lush and green these areas are compared to the rest of the world in Half-Life 2. There are places here where you would hardly know the world had ended. Your first challenge in the Outlands is to defeat 2 antlion guardians which burst forth from the mines that you just left. It's a decent fight, if pretty similar to previous antlion guardian encounters. Next up are the final buildings of Victory Mine. There was supposed to be an outpost of the Resistance here, but in typical Half-Life fashion, they are all dead. The game dangles the promise of driving away in an off-road ready sports car before sending you deep into the bowels of the Victory Mine outpost on a journey to retrieve it. This next section is essentially a compressed down version of Ravenholm, and I love it. The compact vertical level design makes you feel like you're descending into the depths of hell as you drop down elevator shafts, traverse dimly lit stairwells, and crawl through claustrophobic spaces. It's delightful how Valve forces you into situations you don't want to be in, and how they love shutting off the lights just when the enemies start to appear. Even when you know it's coming, it still feels tense. Once you're in the car, it's time for some good old-fashioned Half-Life road tripping. You get in the car, drive, hit a roadblock, shoot some Combine enemies, clear the roadblock, and repeat. A set piece I do enjoy along the road is the autogun assault. It's a neat gimmick to have to duck to avoid the autogun blasts, and it feels great to finally take the high ground against the Combine right at the end. It's very convenient that they placed a box of grenades right next to the window to their base. Personally, I try to keep my ammunition on the inside of the base, away from intruders, but I guess I'm just built different. Once you take down the auto turret, you get an upgraded car with a radar system for tracking down lambda caches. With the driving sections, I'm always wishing the game was longer, because the world does feel a little small, and you never quite reach the feeling of hitting the open road. The coastal driving levels still feel much larger to me, but perhaps that's because the ocean makes them feel more open. Also, this lambda cache detector is sorely underutilized, and I wish there were 1 or 2 more chapters for it to develop. It's still a good sign for my main complaint about the game to be that it's too short, and to be fair with Valve, you just got to take what you can get. Still, I find myself searching for mods that feature more exploration of the Outlands because it's just such a beautiful setting. I once made a video about birds in Half-Life 2, so I wanted to point out that I did see some crows in this installment. Additionally, there are some birds that you can hear but not see, including a woodpecker and what I'm pretty sure is a chickadee. Eventually, you make it to the White Forest base and get to the obligatory story section, which sets up for a final battle with the Combine. I've seen a lot of people say that this is one of the toughest sections of the Half-Life series, and one of my friends said he had to use cheats to get through this final battle. However, there is a strategy to winning this section. All you have to do is think like a pickup truck driver in a school zone and use your vehicle as a weapon. The hunters are bullet sponges, but simply run over all of them with your car and you don't have to worry about them at all. This battle is probably much more difficult if you're trying to get the achievement for saving all the buildings. But you know what? Fuck those buildings. Once you run over all the hunters, just camp by the buildings which can't be destroyed and hit the striders with the Magnuson devices from there. After that, we get to the ending where Dr. Eli Vance is killed by an advisor. Of course, this ending has been retroactively changed by the events of Half-Life Alyx, so now it carries a lot less weight. I guess Valve regretted killing off his character, but I think after waiting so long to find out what happens after this scene, it's a little disappointing to just say that this didn't happen. The new ending feels like it's meant to set up both Half-Life 3 and Half-Life Alyx 2, separating the characters so that they can have different adventures. But it's hard enough for Valve to make one game these days, let alone 2. So I have my doubts that that will come to pass. I suppose there are rumors swirling about Half-Life 3 right now, but I'll believe it when I see it.